Hello, Monroe County. My name is Gullette-Comer. I have been your circuit clerk for going on 12 years now. I'm making some videos and posting some articles on my website, LitaComer.com, to help you get to know me better in case you haven't interacted with me over my tenure the past 12 years as your circuit clerk. Please feel free to check it out, and thank you for watching. One of the goals that I promised to accomplish during my first campaign in 2010 was the digitization of records. And through many obstacles and several grants, I was able to accomplish this, not knowing how important that would be just a couple years later. Many of the Monroe County citizens know, but in case you missed it, back about 5 years ago, mold was discovered in my file room and then subsequently in the entire courthouse. So my records were quarantined for over a year, but this is why I began that project for this very scenario. So things like mold, water, fire, bugs, rodents, all of these things are very detrimental to paper records. And so that is why I began a project like this, not knowing that one of these things would directly affect our records. And even though my records were quarantined for over a year, we were still able to access those digitally. So anyone that had a record search, a record request, we were still able to access all those, even though they were quarantined throughout that period. I have been dedicated to this project for years, and call me a nerd, but I actually get excited talking about it. But despite my enthusiasm, you might be wondering, why should you even be remotely concerned about some moldy courthouse records? So to put it in perspective, some of the most common reasons that I get record search requests are, number one, genealogy. So a lot of people are doing just research about their family, research about their history, Monroe County history. I've helped many people do research about their grandparents. High school and college students do research for history projects and things of that nature. I recall helping a gentleman one time finding a record that went way back in his family tree to a divorce record. And I will tell you, reality television has nothing on a divorce from, the 1800s. I remember him digging up some research that indicated that his family members' supposed mistresses were called into a court hearing, subpoenaed into a court hearing to testify about the goings-on of his family members' indiscretions. At that time, you had to prove things such as infidelity or insanity before a court would even consider granting a divorce. So there's some very interesting stuff that can be found, but juicy family secrets aside, there's some other reasons that preservation of records are very relevant to many of our citizens. Another instance where records preservation is very important to a broad array of citizens is in reference to something that we often refer to as young and dumb crimes. You can imagine what many of those might be, but in essence, someone in their youth was a little reckless, maybe a lot reckless, picked themselves up a felony charge. And that felony might have happened when they were 18, 19, 20 years old, and they never have had another infraction since. And they've been an upstanding member of society, but that felony charge has followed them throughout their whole life, preventing them from getting good jobs, decent housing, all kinds of things of that nature. If those records are somehow destroyed by something like mold or fire, it's much harder to get them expunged. So that's another reason that we really strive to preserve records and have those records readily accessible when that time comes that person might, 20, 30, 40 years later need that record expunged. So the electronic filing initiative was presented to me sometime around 2013, not too long after I took office. And I could have never foreseen the profound impact it would have made, 7 years later when the pandemic hit. Because of my willingness to take on this project and to digitize records and initiate an electronic filing system, when the rest of the world shut down, the judicial wheels in Monroe County kept turning. People's needs for judicial relief or legal relief does not stop just because there's a pandemic. So I worked with other court staff, lawyers, bail bondsmen, mental hygiene, our mental hygiene commissioner, to ensure that the court was still accessible while still keeping everyone safe. I talked with other circuit clerks. I remember that time we were all frantically scrambling, trying to figure out how this new normal would work, how we could keep our offices open and accessible while still keeping people safe. And I was able to devise ways in talking with other clerks about what did work, what didn't work for us in our specific situation. I was able to develop policies regarding email transmissions of filings and various other procedures that helped keep everyone safe while we still were able to keep the courts open and accessible. And I'm one to always try to find a silver lining. So I have found that a lot of these processes were long overdue for an overhaul, but the pandemic just forced us to reevaluate them. So in sum, my goals moving forward as your circuit clerk are much like my goals of, back in 2010. I want to continue to see progress forward into the digital age of court records. And I foresee a lot of collaborations with other state agencies about data transmission, updating of records, instant access, and I'm excited about it. And I am very passionate about this type of work, and I hope that you can see that. And I look forward to moving us forward even further in the years to come.